Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. Ha. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Ha. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. We are halfway done with the season. And before we get into predictions for this week, just a reminder, there's the MVP voting poll up on my channel page on the community section. You can leave your vote there on who your MVP so far is after this week. We're going to talk about our picks real quick at the end of the show after we did the game picks. But that's first, so we're going into week 10. I have to ask first of all, how's our overall standings looking here today?
Well, it looks about like it did last week. Actually, we only disagreed on 2 games last week, and we split those. You had the Browns over the Bengals, and I had the Giants over the Raiders. I'm so glad that worked out.
Wow. Yeah, the Giants.
Yeah. Brings the total to 87 to 81. That was a horrible week of football, by the way. It was really bad. I mean, I guess if you like defense, though, that was your week.
In terms of the MVP vote, like I mentioned earlier today, it's puzzling because like everyone who was kind of in the front running either missed their game or played very badly. So it seems like it's a lot less clear now than it was last week. Now, like today when I made the poll, like I had because YouTube only lets you set 5 options, right? So I set 4 guys and I set other as a 5th option. I had no idea who to pick. I could have picked from like 8 or 9 names to put for those 4.
Yeah.
Because there's so many possibilities, so I had to just settle on 4. So I'm kind of expecting a lot of other this week because you can make an argument for many. But going into, yeah?
Oh, I was going to say, the only quarterbacks that played good last week are not even in the MVP running. You know, like Baker Mayfield and Carson Wentz and, well, I guess you could say Justin Herbert if he dramatically turns the season around. But
I was going to say that, like, the guys who, like, at the beginning, they were sort of in it, and then they sort of fell out of that top tier, like Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson specifically. Both closed up on that first group of guys because they outplayed them. Like, oh yeah, guys missed their game when they played badly. So it's a big pack right now. And starting off with one of them, Lamar Jackson, on Thursday night at the Dolphins. The Ravens.
Yeah, this is going to be tough right here for the Dolphins, that is. Well, it is on the road too. But Lamar looks great. Like, he's been doing that this season. You know, he'll have a couple of down games and then blow up for a monstrous game and go nuclear all of a sudden. I think the Ravens are really hot right now. I mean, they're doing great. The Dolphins, you know, they're eking out wins here and there, but they're no special team by any means at the moment. I don't think Tua's playing with all the confidence, with all the noise around him getting replaced at some point anyway. I think the Ravens are going to go on the road and take this one easily.
I would have to agree with that. I mean, they kind of won. You could argue that they won several games in a pretty lucky way in overtimes and end of game scenarios, with the other teams losing it more than the Ravens actually won it. Same happened against Indianapolis, now Minnesota as well. I think they're not as good as their record suggests, but if they find a way to keep winning games, who might argue, right? And they're playing the Dolphins, who are much, much worse. So I will agree with that. Not much to talk about here. I got the Ravens as well to win it. And then go into a long week off, which they'll probably appreciate as well. The Bills at Jets.
You know, before this past week, I would say this is no contest right here. But the Bills looked horrible. I mean, this Bills looked like the Bills when Tyrod Taylor was the quarterback. Like when E.J. Manuel was the quarterback. It looked like those Bills. I don't know what's going on there. But maybe it's the whole Josh Allen versus Josh Allen thing that everyone wanted to say. Josh Allen number 2 is better than Josh Allen number 1. Yay. I don't know. The Bills should get back on track here. The Jets are nothing to write home about. Who even knows which quarterback they're going to use? I don't think it matters at this point. Maybe if Mike White's in there, it's a little bit slanted toward the Jets. But the Bills should have no problem winning this game.
They shouldn't have, though. Of course, the momentum would suggest otherwise. But still, I can't really argue against Josh Allen because he's still probably one of the MVP favorites, even though he had a bad game, and the other Josh Allen had a better game there. It's not exclusively on him. His entire Buffalo offense was terrible. They scored 6 points all game, and that's not enough against anyone. I mean, they win they allowed 9 points. Jacksonville scored 9 points. It doesn't really matter to give up 9 points, but scoring 6 yourself, that's the only problem there. So that's not just on Josh Allen, that's on the entire offense, and they should get it back together. As far as I'm aware, Zach Wilson's still out, and they're not going to rush him back beyond necessary because they know their team's bad. He's not gonna right the ship by himself this year. He's probably gonna get hurt more than it helps him as a rookie being out there right now with this dumpster fire of a roster. So let's just let Mike White do it. Maybe get some trade value out of him if he continues to look good going into the offseason. But Buffalo Bills should win easy, and they have to get it right and stay in contention for that number 1 seed in the AFC. Must-win game in the division there, so I'm going with that as well. The Bucs at the Washingtons.
Both of these guys are coming off a bye week here. I would like to think that Washington could actually give the Bucs a run, because this feels like one of those games that the Bucs could just drop, because as we've seen, the Bucs are a super team and they can beat really good teams, but they just unexplainably drop games out of nowhere. Somehow they just blow it. And but I don't know. I don't think I really want to put my pick behind Washington at this point. I would like to see them do it, but I don't think it will, so I'll stick with the Bucs on the road.
There would be an argument to make to pick Washington if the defense had sort of lived up to the hype that was there in preseason. If the pass rush was as relentless as we thought it might be. And on paper, I mean, they have one of the best defensive lines in the league, but the production just hasn't been there. And slowing that down would have been a great help, of course. But coming off a bye week, pretty healthy, one of the healthiest teams still, Tampa Bay. I think they're just gonna win. They're gonna outclass them. Washington's massive disappointment, really. They were in for a much better season, supposedly, than last year. Last year they just made the playoffs. Doesn't look like that's gonna happen this year. Of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick's out, but they're going to have to address the quarterback situation in the offseason, unless they land Aaron Rodgers or something, which, you know, that would be a shocker, but more on that maybe later. Bucs win. Smart pick. Definitely have to go with that as well. The Falcons, your Falcons, at the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. The reason Washington is not going to make the playoffs this year, right here, the Cowboys. Although last week they're another one of these teams that were unexplainably bad for no reason. They had Dak Prescott back. They were playing better with Cooper Rush somehow. Who knows? Maybe it was that voodoo that you put on them because you really wanted them to lose that game. And I was like, how are they going to lose that game? They looked really good so far this year. And then they lose that game in dramatic fashion against the Broncos. It doesn't make any sense, but either way, I'm looking at this game right here as in, maybe I don't want to put voodoo on my favorite team here. Every time I pick against the Falcons, they win somehow. I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win this at home and hope that the Falcons win.
I will, before I get into a pick, I'll address a personal matter there as well. If Dak Prescott was Jimmy Garoppolo, he would have been exiled from the city for that game. But instead, because he's Dak Prescott and it's Dallas, yeah, there's not even a controversy, right? If that would have been Jimmy Garoppolo, and with a better record, by the way, they would have thrown him out. He would not be welcome in the entire state anymore after that game. So, low double standard. I want to.
Neither would Josh Allen, though.
No, Josh Allen. He's
Matt
too established.
Stafford.
No, he's too established. He is fine. That's purely, I think, a 49er flaw in the 49ers fan base.
No, I'm saying the way those quarterbacks played, if they were Garoppolo, they would have all been kicked out of their city.
They'd all been out. Garoppolo has been since he became healthy has had the best pass rating in the league. But we'll get into that when we talk about the 49ers and what my thoughts are on that. As for this one, of course, if that voodoo of me jinxing the Cowboys or cursing the Cowboys worked, they would be winless. They would not have a good record right now. So unfortunately, that doesn't seem very reliable. But maybe the commenter voodoo works, because we had the prediction Broncos to upset the Cowboys after we had the prediction of the Jets to upset the Bengals as well. So that's 2 weeks in a row. I don't know if it's gonna be Cowboys again, but why not? Maybe try that. I want the Falcons to win it. I kind of doubt that they will, though they did. I mean, they are technically on a decent streak, I guess. Played reasonably well, and if they are gonna be in the playoff picture, this is a signature win. And if they win this one, maybe anything's possible. I will pick Dallas though to recover. I need to see another one of those to really start doubting them, unfortunately, but they did not look good, and maybe some hope there. I'm definitely rooting for Atlanta. The Saints at Titans.
Speaking of a team that I can't vote for, I did vote for the Saints, and it worked because it got the Falcons a win there. On the Saints defense, the Saints have a great defense. I don't know how the Falcons did that, but they were about to blow like another 20-point lead. You know, that's just their MO here. Saints, who knows what the quarterback's going to be in this situation? Is it going to be Trevor Siemian again? Are we going to see what's his face come back? Hill. But the Titans are on a roll. The Titans are on fire. The Titans look great. They don't even need Derrick Henry to win. All they need is AJ Green and Julio out there catching passes. I'm gonna pick the Titans to take this one on the road. I'm sorry, at home.
Yeah, at home. Yeah, I will agree with that as well. The spread, by the way, is smaller than I would think. Titans are only a 3-point favorite. Maybe that's still sort of the Derrick Henry thing, but I mean, they look very good without Derrick Henry, and they won a tough game without him, so probably should still be favored, and I will take them as well, because I think they're all around the better team, even if they don't have their best player. Jacksonville at the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts continue to look good. I think the Colts are on a good trajectory right now. I think Carson Wentz is playing better in each game. You know, he has his down spots. He still throws an interception here and there, but I think eventually this thing's going to work out between the Colts and Wentz. I don't think it's going to be a one-and-done season, although we saw that with Phillip Rivers. I think Wentz is going to stick around at least a couple seasons, and if he can put together a winning streak here, which he should continue this winning streak against the Jaguars, because the Jaguars are nothing special no matter what happened with the Bills, I think the Colts are going to win this at home, and I think Carson Wentz is going to continue to get better.
I hate that we're agreeing on everything, but I have to go with that as well. Again, I need to diverge from your picks to make up points, but so far I'm not able to do that. So I will also go with the Colts. I think it's just be too risky to pick Jacksonville, mainly because like they didn't play very, very well, like offensively, right? They didn't look like world beaters. Like they've suddenly figured it out and became an explosive offense. Now it's a signature win for Urban Meyer there for sure. In beating the Bills there, who are Super Bowl favorites arguably, but only doing that, only really scoring 9 points on offense all game is it's not the most impressive thing ever. I don't think they'll be able to repeat that on the defensive side, so I'll go with Indy as well. We got the Lions at the Steelers.
Well, I'm sure you can't disagree on this one. I mean, it's the Lions. The Lions are the worst team in the NFL right now. Look at it. I mean, the Jaguars have gotten better. Who else? The Eagles. I mean, well, I guess you can't really put the Eagles down that far. The Jets have even gotten better. You know, the Lions are the worst team in the NFL. The Bengals are much better than they were. So there's no doubt about it. The Steelers, they do what they do to get wins. They don't look good doing it. Ben doesn't look good at all. He's got superstars that can go downfield, and he can't make the throws anymore. So it's all up to Najee Harris to win games for him these days. But I'll go with the Steelers at home. They should easily win this one.
Yeah, it continues, right? I cannot disagree. They won an impressive game. They've been looking good recently. Probably still bottlenecked by the quarterback situation, but if they figure that out, they are still a solid roster. Have been for a long time. Have been very, very well coached for a long time. And this is a team that, like, given its current complexion, is never going to be truly awful. As long as Mike Tomlin's there, as long as the defense is anchoring this team is never going to be very bad. They're always going to be in some kind of contention, mostly depending on the offense and the quarterback play. But with Detroit, of course, dumpster fire, worst team in the league, they might as well just go completely winless this year. If looking at their schedule, I don't really know where they're going to get a win unless they like find some lucky break against like Minnesota or something. Tough road ahead. So Pittsburgh to win as well. Now this one might be one of the closest ones for this week. We got the Browns at the Patriots.
Yeah, I think this may be the game of the week, really. The Browns looked like they were headed downhill until they got rid of OBJ. And OBJ was obviously the problem here because the Browns go back to being world beaters after he's gone. I don't get the whole free OBJ thing here. OBJ was the problem, guys. I don't get it. Mac Jones is a cheater. That's apparent now. I mean, obviously he got a little too much Saban in him when he was down in Alabama, so now he just cheats to win. It's a good thing he went to the Patriots because that's what they do. I'm still torn on this. I think I'll take the Patriots to continue their, I don't know, it's really tough. I'll take the Patriots just because it's at home and I think it's a toss-up, so I'll give 3 points to the Patriots.
Man, you said a lot of things there that I want to address, and like we had a pretty tame discussion so far for 15 minutes, and we get to this game, and like all hell breaks loose. Okay, so how to even order this? Okay, let's start with the Browns, right? Was OBJ the problem with the Browns? No. Was he a problem? Yes. There's more problems than solutions in this organization. That's the signature of the Browns. There is like this group of like several like 3 to 4 teams in the NFL that seem to attract problematic characters. And I'm biased to some degree, but this is also based in fact. This is specifically the Raiders, the Browns, the Cowboys, and the Seahawks. And there's some fringe teams in that direction as well. But like, if you compare like wacky stories coming out of teams or like players doing weird stuff, it's more often than not, or disproportionately often, has been those teams, and the Browns especially in recent years, which is no surprise. I mean, I've said this a couple of times. Like, if you bring enough clowns together, it's going to turn into a circus. There's nothing you can do about that. That starts with Baker, though he's actually turned out better than I thought, character-wise. That's OBJ, that's Jarvis Landry, that's Myles Garrett, that's Larry Ogunjobi up until last year. And that's a lot of other players on that team. And of course, until Kevin Stefanski showed up, that was the coaching as well. With that being said, though, the Browns look good without Odell Beckham. Not necessarily surprising because they weren't able to get him involved in the game, and we're going to talk about him later on because we got some relatively breaking news on him as at the point of recording this, but we'll get there when we get there. As for the Patriots, okay, so with the cheating you're talking about when he held on to like Brian Burns' ankle for a second, right? That's what you mean?
No, he twisted his ankle. He literally gave it a twist.
What? No, he just held on to it. No,
watch that video. Watch that video. Watch the new angle they released today. Also,
no. I've not seen anyone say that. He was just like holding it back for a second.
Okay. Well, I got like 10 articles I'm going to send you after we're done here.
He's a quarterback, like laying on the ground. What's he gonna do to like a defensive lineman like running over him? Dude, I'm not going to put that on Mac Jones. But what I'm going to put on Mac Jones is that he is winning and rapidly getting better. And I can't tell the number on his back from a 12 anymore. Looks the same from all angles. Honestly. And these Patriots, by the way, are good. Now, remind me, you picked the Patriots, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay, this is one of those games where I've literally just written down, pick whatever you don't. So this leads me to pick the Browns, because it's a very close spread. I do tend to believe in the Patriots more, but of course I need to make up points, so I have to pick the Browns here. That's what I'm going to do as well, because it's a close enough game to try to contest. But yeah, he's been looking good, and we might bring up the name Mac Jones as well later when we talk about a certain other discussion. But
when we talk about all the cheaters.
Yes. Oh yeah, right. Okay, you want to talk about cheaters? There's more on the Browns side than there is on the Patriots
I
side.
agree with that. I ain't gonna disagree with that.
Okay, all right. We got the Vikings at Chargers.
Yeah, the Vikings are bad. I don't know. Like, the Vikings should be much better than what they are. Like, they have all the pieces to be a great team. They just can't win for some reason. Every now and then they'll string together a win or two, and then they just blow it for 3 games straight. I guess that's what you get with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is the forever 500 guy, I guess. I don't know. The Chargers are much better than the Vikings at this point in time. Better quarterback, better receiving core, better the run game. Yeah, maybe. Nah, I still give that to Cook over there. But yeah, Chargers should win this one at home.
The Vikings seem to have this eternal curse upon them of like mildly underperforming at all times, but this year in particular they have not been very good. And I said it a couple of weeks ago, but Mike Zimmer might be one of those coaches that we'll be talking about come the offseason as potentially being replaced, and there might need to be a breath of fresh air coming for the Vikings because they've been in a very similar spot for a number of years now. Compared to the Chargers, they're on a clear uptrend, managed to get back after a kind of a downswing a little bit with a win last week, which was very important for them. Justin Herbert's still looking phenomenal, still in the MVP conversation like we've hinted at, and I do believe in him to win this game at home, and the Chargers are going to continue to be on top of that division and potentially a favorite to end up winning it. Panthers at Cardinals.
Yeah, man, I can't support the thought that Sam Darnold is a good quarterback anymore. I've seen him just fail too much. The guy is he's afraid of contact. That's what I believe. I believe that he has lost any nerve that he had coming out of college. Maybe it's Adam Gase. Maybe Adam Gase just ruined it for him. But he looked decent the first 3 games of the season. We thought that he had figured it out. Like Joe Brady and those guys, they had figured it out and, unlocked his potential. And then it just goes away. And right now he looks like the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. Now the Cardinals, on the other hand, whether the 2 superstars play or not, Hopkins, I don't think they need it. This is in Arizona. I don't think they need it. They don't need Kyler or Hopkins to beat this team. I'll go with the Cardinals at home.
All right, so for Carolina, we've seen kind of this permanent weakness that I will admit we knew for Sam Darnold since the day he came out of college, is that he can be reckless and wildly inconsistent with his passes. We've known that, like, there is some Jameis Winston in him, some like downside of Brett Favre, sort of the where he just throws the ball maybe against his better judgment in certain spots. I will say though, like, being afraid of contact, I do not see that at all. Like the way that he's running, like still barely sliding, going head first into collisions, that's like one thing you definitely cannot put on him. That is not.
I don't know.
We've seen that like after a few years with Cam Newton, but he's throwing his body around. He's had a concussion, now he's got a shoulder injury. He might not even be able to start this week. All things going wrong, of course, with Arizona. They might get Kyler Murray back, who, by the way, is the second best quarterback on their team, evidently. And but he'll probably start because they're going to pay him, like they drafted him too high. But of course, maybe they'll trade him away after the season and start Colt McCoy for the next 10 years. We'll see. But he looked better than Kyler has all year. Just a side note. But yeah, I mean, Arizona has to win this game. We still don't really know what's up with Christian McCaffrey. Did not look good. Didn't really do much last week. And to be fair, the Panthers could have won the game. It was a very close one with the Patriots, and it wasn't necessarily for like Sam Darnold having the worst performance of his life, but of course he's not up to his like first 3 weeks. So it's the inconsistency. He looks like the MVP for 3 weeks, then Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. He can't carry the team and makes bad decisions. It's the inconsistency that's the problem, and they'll have to figure that out quickly. We don't know if he's going to be able to start this week, so no consistency there either. I'm not betting on the Panthers this week. Cardinals are going to continue to win. Eagles, yeah.
Before we move on, watch. I mean, I'm sure you watched him play. You remember back a couple of seasons ago when he was talking about seeing ghosts on that Monday night? I think that's his problem. He may not be afraid to get hit. He may not be wincing from the hit. But I think he's anticipating the hit so much. I mean, this offensive line is not great by any means. I think it's much like he was at the Jets. He's anticipating the hit so much that he's making those mistakes. He's throwing the ball 10 feet past the guy that's standing 5 feet away from him. Like, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I know that's what it looks like in practice, but the reasoning you have, I can't see. So the seeing ghost lingo is not related to pass rushing. That's related to coverages and just misreading coverages. The seeing ghost part, that first of all is not something that he made up. That's actually very common.
Oh, I know that.
That's a very common lingo for quarterbacks that people pulled that.
Well, you can see a ghost. Yeah, you can see a ghost coming at you. You can see the ghost. I mean, I always think of it as the guy coming up beside you. The defensive end is coming around, and you think he's there when he's not there yet. You're seeing it out of your peripheral.
Yeah, so you could interpret it as that, but it's often just related to coverages, and of course Bill Belichick is a master of disguising the coverage and playing with the quarterback's mind. So that's probably part of it there as well. Again, the like anticipating the hit, and like I haven't seen him flinch. I haven't seen him like hastily like roll out, throw the ball away, or any of that sort of signs. It's
he's throwing the ball away on the field.
Well, but not in like bad situations, right? Not beyond.
He's like he's got the yips. He's not just sitting there and waiting for the routes to develop. I don't know. I'll have to
go back, but I don't necessarily have seen that. It's just that he's never really been able to improve on this sort of sometimes reckless behavior with the ball, and a lot of that is the Jets, and I've said that to you earlier this week. He was further along in his development in his rookie season, and than he is now, and effectively you have to treat him like a rookie at the moment, because after 3 years of Jets didn't do him any sort of good whatsoever, and that comes with everything. That comes with bad design and kind of leading him into making bad decisions, being on a bad team, making him feel like he has to make those decisions and be more of a risk taker, which he naturally has an inclination to do sometimes beyond his own good. And then also, the possibility of getting hit a lot, that also comes into play, because the Jets' offensive line was never really good, and he got hurt several times with that team. So effectively, you have to treat him like a rookie, which I know fans and possibly management will not have the patience to do, which is unfortunate, but we'll see how it develops. Right now, we don't even know if he's going to play, but more on that story later down in the season. We have the Eagles and Broncos.
This is actually a tough game right here. When I look at it, neither one of these teams have any superstars on their team right now. You think about it. You got maybe Jerry Jeudy is going to be a superstar one day, but you don't have any established superstars on either team that I can think of right offhand. At least not on the offenses. Maybe we could point. Von Miller's gone. Maybe we could point to a couple of guys that you could consider borderline superstars on the defenses. But these are just mediocre teams to me, and I really don't know who to pick here. I think I'm going to give it the old toss-up and give it to the Broncos 3 points at home, because I could see this game going either way, and I don't know. I'll lean toward the Broncos.
Alright, this is another one of those I pick what you don't, because like you said, it's close enough, which defaults me to taking the Eagles. Kind of risky potentially after the Broncos had this very convincing win against the Cowboys, but we've seen them be not very consistent. We've seen them flash at the start, then fall down into a slump, then come back looking really good. In Philadelphia, I will say this, Philadelphia has been better than I thought. With Jalen Hurts, because I think Jalen Hurts is by far the least qualified quarterback in the league. I think Gardner Minshew is by far better than him. Somehow he's been keeping himself over water. I don't think he should be playing quarterback on any sort of professional level at all, and that's like the only guy I will ever say that about it. That's currently in the NFL or has been in a while. It's something else. But somehow he's keeping himself afloat, and the team's obviously, they're not looking good in terms of record, but they're in games. They've been a solid, slightly below average, maybe middle of the pack team, and they've been in a lot of close games, which I will definitely hold in their favor. So I'm gonna have to rely on them to get it done this time, to actually beat the Broncos at Denver, which is gonna be tough, but that's my pick. Seahawks at Packers.
I'm assuming Aaron Rodgers is going to be back, and I'm assuming Russell Wilson is not going to be back. So if that scenario plays out, one of these teams is way better than the other team. due to just the quarterback, because I'm sure you're going to point that out like 50 more times. The Packers should easily win this one at home. There shouldn't be a contest there. Although, if Jalen Love plays, this is probably going to swing toward the other side of the field.
I've said, I think, a couple times, just like sort of by the way, so without thinking about it anymore, coming into this, the Packers, the difference between 7-1 and 1-7 is Aaron Rodgers. Note that I figured that I know you already know this, but to everyone, I can prove this, because the difference between 7-1 and 1-7 is literally 12 games, and 12 just so happens to be Aaron Rodgers' jersey number. So that is actual factual proof that he is a difference between making them the best and potentially the worst team in the league, which kind of we knew that before already. We saw it now. There are 0 elite players on this offense aside Aaron Rodgers. There are a couple of average players, and those are potentially Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones that would like have a roster spot on another team. Other than that, thin ice. It gets very bad very quickly, and we saw this. Of course, Jordan Love was kind of thrown into with the Sharks there. And by the way, to any Packer fan watching, I don't care if you're gonna be offended by this, but this is your future. And I've told you for 5 years that this would be your future, and it's only a matter of time. It's probably happening after the season. You're in for the rudest awakening that an NFL franchise has seen since I can't even recall since when. Because if you're under 30 years old, you're not used to this, to not having a great quarterback as a Packers fan. And once Aaron Rodgers is gone, this is a bottom 5 roster in the NFL. I've said this before. And of course, the one player you inexplicably try to cling on is Devontae Adams, who, by the way, caught less than 50% of his targets, despite being targeted just as much as he is at any other time, but because the ball wasn't spoon-fed to him in the exact right spot and he actually had to make a play from time to time, he turned out to be exactly what he's always been, which is very, very average, slightly above average, a decent receiver, nothing you would ever consider as a top 10 player. And you're gonna have to listen to this, but I know you want to interrupt and interject, but I've earned to say this because we've discussed this so much and now we've finally seen it. 1 week the Packers play with Devontae Adams and without with Aaron Rodgers, and without Devontae Adams they beat the best team in the league. The undefeated Cardinals don't even know a Devontae Adams absence. The next week they play with Devontae Adams without Aaron Rodgers. They get smacked, and I mean they get smacked dominant. They were lucky to even score a point. That touchdown to Al Lazard, that was garbage time anyway, but even that one touchdown, and we know how bad the Chiefs' defense is. This team is Aaron Rodgers, and I've said this also. I think Aaron Rodgers made a better case for being the MVP by missing a game than he ever could have by playing a game, because it just demonstrates how valuable he actually is, which no one really ever tends to realize. This is a horrible team. Aaron Rodgers turns them into a contender every year. For Seattle, this is a very similar situation, though not as extreme. We've seen the Seahawks be competitive even without Russell Wilson. We don't know if he's going to be back. There's a chance that he will be playing at Green Bay, as far as I'm aware. In which case, it doesn't matter. As long as Aaron Rodgers plays, the Packers are probably going to win the game. But yeah, I'll pick the Packers because Aaron Rodgers should be back. Russell Wilson, we don't know. But it is a risky one. And if Aaron Rodgers for some reason were not to play, the Seahawks would win by a landslide, of course. But since he will be back, I will pick him there. Do you have anything to do you want to say anything about this? Do you want to make any more claims about this Packer situation before we go on?
Yeah, of course I do. You know I do.
Okay, of course.
And I'm trying to find something right now. I'm trying to find the stats from this game if I can.
For Devontae Adams.
I want to ask Tyreek Hill, because I want to ask you: is Tyreek Hill an elite player? Right here, Tyreek Hill went 4 receptions for on 11 targets, 4 receptions for 37 yards and 0 touchdowns.
Right.
And Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill an elite receiver?
And he did have Patrick Mahomes on that one. So
yes, and Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback.
So when I earlier this week sent you a list of like 10 receivers from the top of my head that are better than Davante Adams, I think Tyreek Hill was not on that list. And that is because I do also, similarly to Davante Adams, believe that he by himself is not a top 5 receiver in the league. I think he's better than Davante Adams because he is more of a physical specimen. Like, he has a very distinct trait of being incredibly fast, and as long as he's a quarterback that can throw it to him deep, he's going to be dangerous. A big difference for him is, though, he actually is in a situation where he's forced to share targets, because unlike Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes has 2 very, very good receiving options, Travis Kelce as well, who is going to hog targets. So Aaron Rodgers, for him, it's kind of easy. Like, he has 4 traffic cones and 1 traffic cone that can move a little bit. Or, like, I shouldn't say that, but he has 4 traffic cones and he has 1 NFL receiver. So he's going to throw it to the NFL receiver. For Patrick Mahomes, he's got a great tight end. He's got a great receiver. He's got several good receivers as well. And potentially a running back who can catch the ball. There's going to be some more sharing there going on. So, I'm saying Davante Adams. I've always said this is the most overrated player in the league, the most overrated receiver in the league. Tyreek Hill himself, I believe, is slightly overrated as well, but he's better than Davante Adams to me. And if we took both Davante and Tyreek, put them on random teams, Tyreek would be better. Which, in practice, we're going to see that with Davante Adams most likely, because he's not going to stay with Aaron Rodgers, realistically, after the season. Most likely, at least. But yeah, I don't disagree that Tyreek Hill can be inconsistent, and maybe is a bit overrated as well.
You definitely had Deebo Samuel on the list. 9 targets, 5 receptions for 63 yards, and 0 touchdowns.
Because Brandon Ayuk stepped up this game.
Yeah, my point being, good receivers can have a bad game, especially if you have a horrible quarterback. DJ Moore, was he on the list? Oh, God, let me bring up DJ Moore's, because I believe DJ Moore is elite also.
Yeah, he might be. So here's the list. Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans.
Let's definitely bring up Stephon Diggs.
DeAndre Hopkins, Deebo Samuel, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, DK Metcalf. But I know what you're saying, and here's my refutation for that instantly, right? You're picking... these players play their entire lives with average to slightly above average quarterbacks. And the majority of the games, they look elite. And then they have the occasional down game. Davante Adams plays his entire life with the best quarterback to ever lace up the shoes, ever, in history. And he looks pretty good in most games. And then he plays one game, a single game, without the best quarterback on the planet in history. One single game. And he looks like... bad, like terrible, and he got the same workload.
Look bad.
Yes, he did. He
put up the same numbers as Stephon Diggs, actually better than Stephon Diggs, as Deebo Samuel, as better than Tyreek Hill by far. He was
dropping passes. He looked sloppy.
The team was in a slump anyway because they know they're not going to win without Aaron Rodgers.
Well, they aren't, but if you were that guy, you step up, right?
We can't judge Davante Adams. Davante Adams was completely serviceable with Brett Hundley. Let's look up the overall numbers when Brett Hundley played quarterback. The year that Aaron was out.
Sure, and that's my point though. He's a serviceable receiver in an environment where he isn't playing with the best quarterback who happens to funnel the ball to specifically him because he has no other options. I'm bringing this up now because we're talking about Odell Beckham. The sort of news about him is that he apparently has the Packers as his number 1 favorite team to go to. So that's his priority. If Odell Beckham joins the Packers, we have a different team on our hands.
If Odell Beckham joins the Packers, he's going to be like WR3.
He's gonna be the center of the offense.
I think Alan Lazard is better than OBJ at this point.
Center of the offense. If Odell Beckham joins the Packers and stays healthy, he's going to.
Odell Beckham is like I've tried to buy into Odell Beckham over the years. Every year I think, okay, This is the year where he's actually going to put it together and be elite like everyone says he is. But year after year, Jarvis Landry ends up with twice the numbers of Odell Beckham. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, everybody's love for Odell Beckham. They love that one big catch on Monday night. Makes the guy look elite. Odell Beckham is not elite. He's a great physical athlete, but he's not a great football player. Okay, he's good enough to be in the NFL, but he is not on the level of Hopkins and Devontae and Julio and AJ Green or DK Metcalf. He's not even. I would take Chase Claypool over Odell Beckham right now.
That was a catch that Davante Adams couldn't make in his dreams. And he doesn't have to, because every pass is perfect when it comes from Aaron Rodgers. Which also means that if Odell Beckham, a healthy Odell Beckham, got 12 to 15 targets a game from Aaron Rodgers, that's breaking the league. If Odell Beckham is a Green Bay Packer, Davante Adams gets delegated to carrying water on the field during timeouts. quicker than you can ever look.
I would make that bet.
Not that literal bet, but if Odell Beckham joins the Packers, that's the first time that Davante Adams has had some actual competition from a good receiver. Jordy Nelson, he was past his prime already, and he was, by the way, Jordy Nelson was never good. Look at all, like, everyone that's ever played with Aaron Rodgers. What we talk about Bill Belichick's all the coaches who served under him failing anywhere else. Look at every receiver that's ever played with Aaron Rodgers and was even serviceable. They failed anywhere. Jordy Nelson, he was with the Raiders. Most people don't know this.
Yeah,
he went to the Raiders
like
for a season.
Or something.
Yeah, did nothing and retired. Randall Cobb was like he was brought back from the dead. Where was he? Was he with the Texans or something? I don't even remember.
He's as old as Jordy. Like, these guys, you're saying, oh, these guys left in their mid-30s, and look, they didn't do anything. Nobody's doing anything in their mid-30s.
Well,
Julio is not doing anything in his mid-30s.
Randall Cobb's already done more with the Packers now than he has in between his two stints with the Packers combined.
Oh, that's because Devontae was out for that game.
Yeah, right. But that's my point.
He got like 25 yards. He got like 3 receptions and 25 yards. He just happened to get a touchdown.
It's like you just take Devontae out and put random guy 5 in there, like just to randomly generate.
Yeah, and they get 25 yards, whereas Devontae gets 130.
And they're the player of the game. And they're the player of the game, and they make all the plays they need to make.
Okay. Yeah, all right. We'll take the 25 yards over 130 yards. That makes sense. Okay.
I really want to see Odell with the Packers. And
I do too.
Odell goes to the Packers and Davante Adams gets like half the targets he used to get. And then next year, Davante Adams plays without Aaron Rodgers. Not a soul is going to have Davante Adams as a top 10 receiver without Aaron Rodgers.
If OBJ goes to the Packers, he's going to mouth off during practice, and Aaron Rodgers is not even going to throw him the ball for an entire game.
He's not going to mouth off in practice.
Oh, that's what he does.
Listen, Odell Beckham goes there. He's going to have some respect for like playing with Aaron Rodgers. Like he's been dealing with like the worst Eli Manning for his like last couple of years of barely functioning as a quarterback, and this circus that is the Browns, that is focused on running game, which of course he doesn't like. There is nothing better. Like, why do you think he wants to go to the Packers? He just saw how terrible that roster is. There's one reason.
I bet he ends up on the Bucs.
There's no space though. Like on the Bucs, I will say like there's like 4 receivers of his caliber.
Brady doesn't care. He'll talk Arians in to get him.
Of course not, but there's 4 receivers on his caliber, and then there's Gronk too, and you might need to line up a running back. He might actually like not start. On the Packers, he comes in day one. He's the center of the offense, and Aaron Rodgers knows it, and he knows it too. Yes.
He'll be number 2, maybe number 3.
Until he learns to play. Until he learns the playbook, maybe. Until he learns the playbook, maybe. Yeah, the Browns have a much better offense than the Packers do outside of quarterback. Imagine giving Aaron Rodgers, Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. He's got 10 Super Bowls in his trophy case.
Of course, Nick Chubb is the best running back in the NFL besides Derrick Henry.
He's a top 5.
Yeah.
He's always okay. Like, most players on the Browns are better than anything Aaron Rodgers has ever had. I mean, I want this to happen. I really do. Because then we'll see. Like, we've got a direct comparison.
Yeah, I want it to happen now. Just so we will see.
If Odell goes to the Packers, he's gonna be good. And we're gonna see him we're gonna get the renaissance of Odell Beckham. I firmly believe in that. I know you've written him off. Like, you've written him off. He's gonna be back, and I really wanted to see him with Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully, we'll get there.
I mean, he may be back if he gets a good quarterback, but I don't. He's not gonna outplay Devontae Adams now.
Next year, all will be revealed. Whenever if Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers go their separate ways, all will be revealed.
It will.
To make a long story short, we both picked the Packers to beat Seattle here.
Yeah, an hour ago.
Still have 2 more games. Let's go to these first, and we'll get to MVP discussions. But we have Chiefs at Raiders.
Yeah, the Chiefs and the Raiders, their 2-game bump is over. But the Chiefs look really horrible. I just had a feeling the Giants were going to pull that one out, and thankfully they did. They didn't look great doing it, though, but Raiders were even worse. Like, Derek Carr is no longer in the MVP conversation as much as Dave Damashek and Dave Carr wanted to make it. But, yeah, the Chiefs, speaking of not being in the MVP conversation anymore, the Chiefs are horrible. Tyreek Hill is nowhere to be found right now. Even Kelsey can't make these guys win games. I don't know. Like that there's something wrong in Kansas City, and it's worse than whatever happened to the Steelers last season. You know what? I think this is a toss-up, and I'm gonna go with the Raiders at home.
About this game, first of all, for my pick, I'll take the Chiefs, because this is the one where I take the opposite of you again, because it's close enough. So Chiefs is my pick. We can lock that in. This is the most important game of the week that I think a lot of people don't really see as being that, or don't really regard as it. I think it is kind of boring. But this is the most important game of the week for those 2 teams, because this is the pivotal game where the kind of the direction in this division is decided. Both these teams have been kind of mediocre, some underwhelming for the Chiefs especially. If the Chiefs lose this game, they're going to be too far behind to come back into this division the way they're looking right now. And for the Raiders, if they lose the game, they're going to be on this downward trend where suddenly the Broncos have potential, the Chargers are probably going to win the division anyway, and you lose head-to-head to the Chiefs. You can't afford that either. So this is a pivotal game, the most important game by far for both of those teams so far this season, and I will take the Chiefs. Hopefully they'll be able to get it together, get one of those offensive performances going. Now, they didn't do it last week against the worst team in the league, the Packers. They didn't win convincingly. They did win, but not convincingly. Inexplicably, they're still 2-point favorites in this game. I think the Patrick Mahomes MVP season is still lingering there with the bookmakers, and they kind of still believe it could happen at any time, and it can. We know that the offense is good enough for it to happen, but we need to see some evidence of that. Something is definitely wrong in Kansas City, but my trust is that they're going to make it against the Raiders, because I need the Raiders to also end up 500. So the Chiefs have to win this game for me. And then Monday night, Rams at Niners. Make it quick.
Man, if you guys were playing the Rams of last week, you'd be all set. But then again, the 49ers of last week weren't that great either. 49ers of 2 weeks ago versus the Rams of last week, you guys got it. You're going to win at home.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think the Rams are going to put it all back together, and this is Matt Stafford. He had a really bad game. It was horrible, you know. He was doing the windmill interception out there, and I guess it's a new dance that he just learned. But I think he's going to get it back together. I think Sean McVay knows how to beat Kyle Shanahan. I mean, you know, it just is what it is. Sometimes you have to realize that your team is just not that good, man. You know what I'm saying? I take the Rams to win this one on the road.
Are you making stuff up sometimes? The Niners have won the last 4 games against the Rams. It doesn't even matter who's good or not. That's the dynamic in the NFC West. Okay, the Niners beat the Rams. That's how it goes. Rams beat the Cardinals. Cardinals beat the Seahawks. Seahawks beat the Niners. That's the cycle of life. So there's there's no such thing. Niners, if they beat anyone, they beat the Rams. But this was like supposed to be a great game, right? This was maybe the most anticipated primetime game when they made the schedule in the preseason. If this is the Rams of last week versus the Niners of last week, that's gonna be slump. It's gonna be a 0-0 game or something, because they both look terrible. And I just have to pick the team that's been more reliable so far this season, which is the Rams. They've looked terrible at times and looked good at times, as have the Niners, but the Rams have looked terrible fewer times than the Niners. Also, they've been dealing with less injuries. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo finally seems healthy, and by the way, he's been, I have mentioned it, the best quarterback in the league over the past 2 weeks. No one seems to like that, because
17 points.
Yeah, people still think he's somehow the reason for all the problems, which is like the reason it's not much worse than it is right now. So people want to see Trey Lance start. There's absolutely no sense in that. I'm gonna pick the Rams as well, because they're just a better team. Like, overall, the roster is probably stronger, and they've been more consistent, and typically they mess up less, and therefore I'll take them. They're also more experienced, so everything would point in their direction. They're 4-point favorites, which is not a lot, and it's probably owed to the fact that it is a divisional game. It's a primetime game. Anything can happen there, and we know the Niners can swing wildly. They can play horrible, then be dominant the next week, and then play horrible again. So anything's possible. But I'll take the Rams again. Okay, so about this MVP discussion, and by the way, we have 4 teams on bye here: the Bears, Bengals, Texans, and the New York Giants. Well deserved, the Giants, by the way, and the Bengals are probably quite happy about this as well. About the MVP discussion, I'll let you go first. So, who did you vote for, and what's your outlook?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet, because everyone that's on the list looks bad. I mean, except for Herbert. I mean, I guess this week it's Herbert, because I can't pick Stafford or Josh Allen. Those guys were tied, in my opinion, last week, and they both were god awful last week. So I guess at this point it's going to Herbert. Yeah, I can't see any way around it. Well, okay, I guess it's tied right now between Herbert and Lamar Jackson. I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to get it again. I think Aaron Rodgers took his name out of the running with the voters, the people who were actually going to pick the MVP, because of the whole vaccination thing. I think they're not going to pick Rodgers if there's any way possible not to pick him. So I think it's tied between Herbert and Lamar right now.
So my vote also went to Justin Herbert this week, and one thing I'll say is, like, rarely does this happen in like week 10, this far into a season, that we have this many names in the race. And, like, typically by week 10 there's like maybe 2 or 3 at max, and it doesn't change week to week either. It's very, very close, and this is shaping out to be great, because this is what you like to see for an MVP race. Like, you want like several names that are possible. You want to have debate, because these last few years there was no debate ever. Like last year, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, easy, unanimous MVP. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, all basically more or less unanimous MVPs, even Matt Ryan. There was never like a really close competition in most of those years. But this year there will be. There most likely will be, unless one of them can separate. I've said it before. In a strict sense, and we talk about how valuable the player is, Aaron Rodgers made the best impression last week by not being present, because his team went from best to worst in the league by his absence, which should in theory show that he is the most valuable player, which he is if we went by a strict definition. But missing you can't win an award by missing games. That's the thing, right? You're just not gonna. And also he had that horrible week 1, so that's already 2 weeks that kind of sabotage him there. Similar issue with Kyler Murray, he just missed the game. So Justin Herbert for me as well. But there's almost no wrong opinion. There's like 8 names you can name that are all somewhat legitimate, and one of those names that are possibly starting to sound legitimate, I wanted to quickly get out of there. If you want to take a guess, do you have an idea what I'm about to say?
I'm looking through. Don't tell me Mac Jones.
It's Mac Jones.
No.
How about Mac Jones?
No, he cheats.
He doesn't. How many games does it take for Mac Jones to be MVP now? If like all the top guys play mediocre again, how many games does Mac Jones have to look really good to be like legitimately up there? Like 1 or 2 max. If he plays 2 good games and the
I
other guys,
want to see him throw for 400 yards in a game with 4 touchdowns. I want to see him put up just mega stats. I don't want to see him depend on Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. I want to see him go out there and actually win with his arm, and then I'll start to believe. And I don't want to see him twist the dude's leg whenever he gets tackled.
How many Super Bowls and MVPs does Tom Brady have doing exactly what you just mentioned?
Yeah, well, I don't agree with those either.
Well, yeah, but that's like what it is, right? Mac Jones in his role as maybe the game manager. I mean, I don't agree with it either, of course. If we're looking at who's the individual best player, and Aaron Rodgers would just win the award every year, whether he has the best stats or not.
Yeah.
But that's not really how the NFL does it, right? It's like that particular year who looked the best. I mean, Mac Jones has been by far the best rookie quarterback. Potentially the best offensive rookie is take away Jamar Chase. Is kind of a close race there. And as especially for a quarterback, like we touted about, Justin Herbert being such a rare phenomenon last year, coming out as a rookie at that hard of a position and looking so good. Mac Jones has looked pretty good, and I think honestly, like, give him 1 or 2 more really good games, and he has a chance to do that this week against a tough defense. If he beats Cleveland soundly, it's not the dumbest thing I've ever heard to say Mac Jones is in the running for MVP. So I wanted to bring that up. I know a lot of people are going to think this is blasphemy because in their minds he can never be good because they thought he was bad before the draft because he's slow and not mobile and not one of those dual threat guys, and he's from Alabama and people don't like him, and he looks like Tom Brady in his combine picture.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, he looks a lot like Tom Brady in the field as well, and he's won some MVPs in his time. And I think, I believed in Mac Jones from the start. I thought he was a lot better than people give him credit for, so I wanted to bring that up. Justin Herbert gets my vote this week, but it's a close one, and I predict it's like very likely to change week to week, which is, I think, really good. I think that's what you want to see for an MVP race.
Hey, I will add that I know Justin Fields is not in the running at all, but he is looking much better. The past 2 weeks. He's looking really good.
I definitely like what I'm seeing from him. He's been steadily improving. Like, it's a very consistent rate of improvement, so that's very good. I think Matt Nagy has no future in Chicago, and he's going to have to learn a new system, learn a new playbook. But I think Justin Fields could be... I think he's going to be the answer. I think he, especially with the concerns we've had about him coming in, his sort of consistency in the mental game, lack of really awareness, and ability to process the speed of the NFL game, he's been making great improvements in that, and he's combining that now with his natural ability, like his physicality, his ability to be a legitimate running threat. He has a lot of potential, and he's looking to turn out really well. So really liking what I'm seeing from Justin Fields. Not in the MVP conversation, his team's too bad, but he's good. And Chicago fans have something to be excited about. If not this season, of course. Don't think it's going to happen with Matt Nagy. I think you'll agree with that one.
Yeah.
But in the future, for sure. So maybe look for Chicago to be on top of that division. Maybe as soon as next year, if we can make this way too early prediction.
Yeah.
No, it depends on Aaron Rodgers not being with Green Bay anymore.
Well, he's not going to be with Green Bay unless he goes to Detroit, which would be stupid, but...
That would be then Detroit and Green Bay just switch places in the division, basically. It's nothing much changes. He's gonna end up with like Denver or Pittsburgh and just go 17-0 or something.
Yeah.
But in the NFC,
I think Pittsburgh is very likely myself.
That would be filthy.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers in
they'd
Pittsburgh
be dominant.
now?
Yeah, they would kill everybody.
I mean, that's a top 10 defense potentially. It'll be over. That would be crazy.
Yeah. Look at the receiving weapons he would have,
Yeah, I mean better than now, for sure. and a good running game as well. Better offensive line, decent running back.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I like Chase Claypool though. I'm not gonna diss Chase Claypool.
Yeah, I do too. He'll take Odell Beckham with him to Pittsburgh next year.
No.
Take his best receiver with him.
Let's not be silly now. That's
I wouldn't mind it. That could be a good show. That'd be a good show. But yeah, that's that. So you can go vote for your MVP on my channel page, community tab. Let us know who you have. Again, I could only fit 4 names and the option other, so don't be upset if your personal favorite is not listed by name, which is very likely, by the way, because there's like twice as many candidates than I could fit on the poll, so I had to just pick 4 out of the hat, basically. Let us know who you're voting for. Pretty split decision I'm expecting this week. Anything in the fantasy burst for us?
Yeah, this week I'm just going to talk a little bit about how defense is back. You know, the 2020 season is dead now. This super high-powered offensive juggernaut season is over, and the process is back. I mean, really, fantasy football, the process works better in this style of football that we are seeing right now. It is actually more easy to predict if you follow the trends and cycles. So that's what we're talking about this week. We can go back to finally trusting the process again.
All right, I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna have a look at that for sure. So, Scoreboard, fantasy football advice going into week 10 coming up later on in a couple hours, actually, after this video is live on this channel as well. If you play fantasy, you do not want to miss that. It's always some good stuff. But for us, pretty much exactly an hour now, we are done. Thank you for watching. Let us know what you think. Any bold predictions, any way to jinx the Cowboys, please do in the comments. And we're going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.